intoxicated, and then all of a sudden,
But I'm pretty sure it's one of the same people in here.
more days. I was so excited too. I was just like, bro, I'm poor.
Hello, our fellow delusionists. I'm Shayna, this is Winona, and welcome back to our podcast, Book Theory and Delusions. Y'all, this book had me feral foaming at the mouth. Let me tell you, I was literally at work for like 12 hours, and I finished reading the book like an hour into my shift, and I could not break down until like 6 p.m. And let me tell you how torturous that was.
Yeah,
So,
I just was in bed with all the lights off and just curled up, being like,
so we have a juicy session for you. Um, and then obviously this episode's gonna contain spoilers and some pretty major ones.
oh
So
yeah,
we're gonna we'll talk about it, and then we will introduce the next book that we're reading. So
yes.
let's get into it.
So we should really probably start at least somewhere in the beginning-ish, um,
Ugh, yeah,
because there's so much, right? And especially at the end, it just gets so crazy. But one of the first things that just made me a little feral was Jax called her love instead of little fox at one point. And again, because I'm focused on the ending right now, but it was a point where she had said something, or maybe she gotten hurt or something. I am kind of blanking, but the fact that he nicknamed her or called her love instead of little fox, I just was like, excuse me, how dare you?
yes. Oh, gosh. What made me really feral was there's this scene, right, where you know, okay, so Evangeline is like fighting again, like her feelings. It's like this internal war of her feelings with Jax, right? And then because she has that mirror curse on her, we know that Apollo is being, at some point, is being like tortured, right? He's being whipped. And so she's feeling the same effects, and like her dress is really bloody and she's in pain, and he like carries her and is just so sweet and so tender. And it's just like so like intimate and like sensual, but also just like so sweet and so endearing and like
I was actually really
um
impressed too with how Luke was handling the situation, right? Because there one was blood already all over her from killing Petra. She was traumatized, and he could tell that she was not okay. And then on top of that, there was her own blood from being lashed because Apollo was getting lashed with the original blood and with this new blood coming through. Yes, his fangs were growing, but he was still controlling himself so well for one, a new vampire, and two, truly acting like he really cares for her. I was so impressed.
right. Also, can we talk about how crazy it was that like Petra was another key?
Yeah.
Like she takes off her wig and reveals like pink hair, and you're like I'm clutching my pearls, you know? Like, so she gets, I think, like the youth stone from her. And then another scene that made me so feral is Jax, they go to like this cabin, right, where time is just kind of wonky and whatever. He takes her after she's attacked, he takes her there so that she can kind of heal, and there are no like curses that can happen in this like little like cabin place, like because of the wards, whatever. And he comes back one day, and he himself is also like extremely hurt, and she in return like tries to return the favor, right? Takes off his bloody clothes, is like trying to heal the wounds, but because he's a fate, he is, is healing pretty quickly. Um, and this hurt me so bad because it was also such a tender scene. But I mean, at least through Evangeline's perspective, like you know that he's acting this way because of it was like the mirth stone, right? And so he just and he says this thing where I was just like where he was like, just lay with me tonight. Like tonight just lay with me, and then tomorrow you can go on pretending that you don't like me, and tomorrow I'll go on pretending that I don't care, but I want to pretend that you're mine. And I was like, stop. Stop.
Right, and especially the exact wording he used, which you quoted it, I think, tit for tat, but he had said, I'm going to pretend that I don't care that you don't like me, right? Or as pretending that you don't like
Yeah,
me. Instead of saying, I'm going to pretend I like you because I just want a warm body next to me, he said that he
right,
actually likes her, right? He was admitting to his feelings without outright admitting to his feelings. And I just
right.
ate it up. Oh my goodness. It was so good. I loved it so
You
much.
know, these last few chapters were like, because this was such like it's like a slow burn, but it's also just like a tease, right? Because you're like, okay, well, like he says one thing, but his actions like depict something else. So like, but he's also really good at acting kind of like cold and callous and like whatever. So you're like, what is going on, right? And then, and then, so she opens the arch with chaos. Okay, and then you find the Valor family behind the arch. They're behind it
Strange.
because they created chaos, which is crazy, right? They made a monster, right? And the monster was chaos. They brought him back from the his name was Castor. They brought Castor back from the dead using magic, but that turned him into a monster, which I thought was mind blowing, right? So Honora takes off his helmet, right? This whole sweet reunion, like whatever. Jax isn't there, but she makes the mistake of looking him in the eyes, and he kills her. And also, you find out that he's the handsome stranger in the dream, which I think is going to have some importance in the third book. But then he kills her, he drinks her blood, and then Jazz comes and he's that scene, right, where he's just holding her body and he's just like, what have you done? And then he is just like pleading with Honora. He's like, I know you have the magic. Like, you need to bring her back. And she's like, we already did that once. And like, look what happened to Castor. She's like, I'm not going to do it. Right. And he's like, no, I know you have the magic. You need to do it. Right. And she's like, I'm not going to do it. And so he uses his one attempt for time travel to bring her back.
Oh, and what he says when she said, well, be careful because when you do that, it's going to take something of equal value to you. And he said,
Mhm.
there is nothing of equal value to me. Like, oh, but then, of course, at the end, what it does take is still her. Because,
Yeah, but like she's alive, but then Apollo comes and the curses have been lifted, but he takes her memories.
and she can, like, feel it happening, right? Which is so, like, I think between Caster or Chaos sinking his teeth in the way that, what's her name? Stephanie, the author, describes it, it's almost like that nails on a chalkboard type of a make your own
Yeah.
control type of description because it's like she feels the teeth scraping in against the tissue and the muscles and even the bone, and as
Mhm.
he goes deeper and deeper trying to get more and more blood, I mean killing her, right, sucking her dry, it just, I think between that and the feeling of Apollo like swiping the memories and scooping them out, I just, between those two, I was my skin was crawling. It was awful.
I was at work, you guys. I was just like silently screaming at my desk, like
I would pay to be the security guy who watches you at work because this happens a lot and I think it's so funny.
I was just watching the camera and he's like, yeah, behavioral unit. We got one at the desk. You need to go get her.
Did we do a background check on her before we hired her? Like, are you sure she doesn't need to be in here for a different reason? Just kidding.
The rage I just know that Jax is gonna have towards Apollo, and like listen,
Yes.
Jax already wants to kill Apollo, like, before all of this happened. Like, and now that he took the memories of Jax away from Evangeline, like, there is no place Apollo could hide. No place on Earth. Jax will always find him.
And you know that Apollo is going to blame absolutely everything on Jax, right? The fact that she doesn't have any
Right.
memories, the fact that she has probably feelings. I'm going to assume that she's going to still feel a pull because it's going to be something deep inside, not a memory thing, towards Jax,
Mhm.
right? But I do think she'll keep her distance for a good while because she's going to be scared and because Apollo's going to feed her whatever information that he wants to about Jax, right? And I
Yeah.
think because Apollo's going to be king, he's going to be putting basically a bounty out for Jax because he's the reason behind both of their curses and, Apollo basically losing his wife. So I think Jax is going to be in huge trouble, and I think it's going to take a bit for them
Ooh.
to get to each other, to even meet each other, not even for her to remember him or whatever. But
Yeah. I have another theory. What if okay, so I talked about how maybe he has her memories locked up somewhere, but what if the way that he brings her memories back is like he has this just like this raw, like emotional, almost kind of angry love confession, and that just like unlocks something in her brain, and like everything just comes flooding back.
I absolutely love that. Or what if it's his kiss? The thing that kills everybody else, but it kills that freaking curse. Okay.
That's my new theory. That's yep.
But I
It's like the
agree.
confession plus the
Yes,
kiss.
yes, yes. I do think that he has to bring up that emotion for it to be there. Does that make sense? So I wonder if
Yeah,
he has to
yeah,
bring it up.
yeah.
Like he's gonna open it and they're just gonna sit there. I imagine they're like little glowy things or something in the box. And he's gonna have to like he's gonna be depressed or disappointed that it's not working and just sit there being like, all of this, you're my only reason to live. You're like, just give her everything. And then all of a sudden they start gonna like
Yeah.
floating upwards and just like hitting her and just like going it. Like, I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, there's so many ways you could go with this, right? There's so many theories you could play into. There's so many like I wonder what's gonna happen to Luke. Like, oh, there's so many things.
And then we also find out that Jax was the archer. I think we kind of touched on, like, I think we kind
I
of
think so.
guessed.
Yeah. So yeah, I
Yeah.
thought that he was the archer all along. I thought
Hmm.
I actually thought he was going to be Lyric, I think. But I was confused as
Yeah.
to which one was in love with what's her name? Aurora, the princess
Right.
Ballad. And so I was trying to guess that he was the one in love with her, right? He words things so well because the whole time he was like, I wouldn't call the archer my friend. And it's true, he wasn't his friend, it was him, right? And he called Aurora annoying, he called just all these things. He made it seem like he was just simply a friend of the group, not part of them at all. And
Right.
in my notes, I literally have it all capital letters. He's the archer, I knew it!
And then when he described like the first fox, right? Like this woman that he loved, like he went away from her, right? And then she found him, and then like because she found him again, she ended up dying. Right. And so he was like, there's just no future. And I'm like, you just gotta give it a chance.
Oh, the hurt on his face. I actually still think about it sometimes randomly. My mind will go back to that scene when she pulls out the stone, or right before she's about to, and he said, you think that a stone is causing all of this, and that after you take the stone out, my feelings are going to change? And she said, yes, of course, because you've never given me any reason beforehand to think that you would feel this way,
Right.
right? Not that she says that out
Mhm.
loud, but she plays along and takes it out, and he just goes cold. And she said it's not just a cold stone like, to him. In his eyes, he looked hurt, just pained. And my heart bled for him a little bit because it's like they were having this perfect world, just the two of them. And of course, it had to be shattered. And then he went along and still chose freaking the princess to go to, even though in the end he didn't. But he was choosing still to go back in time to try
Right.
and have a true love. Oh,
And, like, I love too how there was just, like, 0 hesitation. Like, it wasn't like, "Oh, well, like, maybe Donatella," but, like or he was just like, "No, like, you need to bring her back." And he was just, like, not even an option. Like,
yes.
once Honora, like, just wasn't gonna bring her back, he was like, "I'll do it myself." Like
The description too, when he was holding her and she's dead, it was almost this third party of looking down on the scene, and it said something about the
Mhm.
horrific screams that this fate was letting out over the death of this human. And I just could imagine him clutching her, right? Because it said that he was clutching her to his chest as if he was never ever going to let go, and just screaming about her being gone. And I just wanted to cry.
And then, like, just had to have Chaos too be like, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so sorry, right? You know, he hasn't, I don't know, he hasn't fed in like however many years, right? And so he didn't have that self-control, right? And then I just can't imagine the guilt, you know, that he felt after he like kind of came back to his senses, right? And just to watch Jax just to watch that scene, right? And just I just want to know how guilty that like Chaos felt, just because I know, like,
Well, and I wonder too because now knowing, and I guessed it the chapter before it happened, but I did turn to my mom and I was like, before you keep reading, let me say this because I was like, I want somebody to know that I'm guessing this before it actually happens. But now that we know that Chaos is Caster,
Mhm,
Lala is in love with Caster, who is now Chaos. I wonder because she's gonna have to find out that. Oh no, because things happened and he went back in time. Sorry, let me rephrase that. But Lala's gonna figure out that things happened, right? Basically. And
mhm,
now it's possible that Jax is the one who's fatally wounded because we saw the magical blood on the arch, but we didn't see Jax. And we don't know where he is because Apollo stopped her before she could go through to find him, right? Figure
right.
out what happened. So Lala, I wonder how she's going to react to Chaos, one, having his thing off, and two, hurting their friend, like being. Because I don't know how he's
Mhm.
going to control all of this, right? Like, I'm really interested to see what's going to happen to him in the third book. I'm also curious why Honora, whatever, took off the thing, right? There was a reason that they put it on in the first place. Why take it off now, I don't know.
I'm so excited for book 3. We're just gonna get all the answers.
So much that's happened. There's so much that's going to happen. You just know. I wonder if it's going to be years before Jax sees Evangeline again, or if it's going to be like next week. I don't know. She could be pregnant with a baby from Apollo. I don't even know. Right? Like,
I hope not. I hope she stays. I hope that she just stays away from that man because he's not good for her.
yeah, we should have known from the moment that we saw him all lounging in front of the thing, being like, oh, paint me, right? He's so vain and he's so all about himself. Why did I
Mhm.
ignore that, right? Like,
And the thing is like she painted it in such a way where it's just kind of like, oh, like this little detail, right? So you just kind of like almost like skim over it. But it's like so key to his personality, right? Like, bro, you messed with the wrong people.
seriously. All of a sudden thought of this, but the food in that little cottage too, how every hour or whatever it would change to like this beautiful
Yeah,
color.
she said too it was like this like thick hot chocolate, and I'm just like, just a little shot, please.
Speaking of, my mom is gonna try and make probably not all the foods, but she's gonna be making the food. So I'm gonna take pictures and stuff like that and post it on our podcast, probably the next episode.
Is it time?
Yes, please, please. I'm so excited.
So, third book of the series, A Curse for True Love. Third book in the series. Oh, another really exciting thing is, I like to know how many chapters there are, and we're gonna get different perspectives in this book. 2 villains, 1 girl, and a deadly battle for happily ever after. Evangeline Fox ventured into the magnificent North in search of her happy ending, and it seems as if she finally has it. She's married to a handsome prince and lives in a legendary castle. But Evangeline has no idea of the devastating price she's paid for this fairy tale. She doesn't know what she has lost, and her husband is determined to make sure she never finds out. But first, he must kill Jax, the Prince of Hearts. Blood will be shed, hearts will be stolen, and true love will be put to the test in A Curse for True Love, a, the breathtaking conclusion to the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy.
Okay, can we also touch on the fact that the one reason she didn't want Jax going back in the past for Donatella wasn't even because she didn't want a happily ever after for him. It was because she didn't want to forget him. She didn't want to forget what she's been through. And the one thing that Apollo took from her was that specifically.
At one thing.
Yeah.
This book has hurt me. Not The Curse for True Love, but The Ballad of Never Ever, like, hurt me. Like, oh.
My Goodreads review basically was just like one sentence of how absolutely dare you after everything we've been through.
Me, 5 stars, and okay, ow, that hurt. Like 5 stars. If you cause emotional turmoil and emotional damage, you get 5 stars.
Unless you are male. Just kidding. So I am so excited to start reading. I honestly think I'm going to start reading tonight because I am so excited.
Yes, you gotta join us.
We will see on Saturday where we will get
As
into
we
the first 15 chapters.
first 15 chapters, we're gonna read them, dissect them, just eat them up. So make sure to join us.
Yep. And we will see you then. Thanks for joining. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, share, everything.
Bye.